NASCAR veteran Kyle Petty has issued a warning to the entire NASCAR garage about Denny Hamlin's intense focus on the championship. This comes in the wake of Hamlin's recent performance at Bristol, which shocked the NASCAR fans. "This is the time to put away the past and go all offense," Denny Hamlin declared after last Saturday's race at Bristol. The number 11 Toyota driver's playoff story was walking on eggshells going into the event, following disappointing finishes of 24th and 23rd in Atlanta and Watkins Glen, respectively. Despite these setbacks, Hamlin and his team executed their strategy perfectly when it mattered most. Kyle Petty believes this ability to perform under pressure is exactly what a prospective NASCAR Cup Series champion needs. While Hamlin's Joe Gibbs racing teammates faded away in the elimination round, the veteran driver prevailed. Although he couldn't repeat his dominant spring performance at Bristol, Hamlin achieved his primary objective, advancing in the playoffs. The number 11 team's focus was laser sharp at the Bass Pro Shops night race. Entering the event, Hamlin found himself precariously positioned 6 points below the playoff cut line. However, he managed to climb out of this deficit, finishing the race 15 points above the cut line, the only driver to overcome a pre-race points deficit in the playoff picture. Hamlin's performance was marked by strong finishes in both stages, securing 6th and 3rd place finishes and accumulating crucial points. Reflecting on his race strategy, Hamlin shared on his podcast, "I got to the top 3 or so. At that time, I told Chris, do not talk to me about points, just let me race."
Top 3 or so. At that time, I told Chris, do not talk to me about points, just let me race.
This unwavering focus and determination impressed NASCAR veteran Kyle Petty, who didn't hold back in his praise for Hamlin's performance. "Denny freaking Hamlin, that's what it was all about," Petty exclaimed. "I said it in pre-race. He called his shot in 2012 in New Hampshire, called his shot earlier this year in Dover. He didn't call this shot, but he had to make this shot. They had to make something happen after the first 2 poor performances in this round, and he did what he needed to do."
In the words of the great Dale Jr., it's Bristol, baby! What an incredible race. Denny freaking Hamlin. That's what it was all about. I said it in pre-race. He called his shot in 2012 at New Hampshire. He called his shot earlier this year at Dover. He didn't call this shot, but he had to make this shot. They had to make something happen after the first 2 poor performances in this round. He went out, got his stage points in stage 1, got his stage points in stage 2, and did what he needed to do.
Petty went further, suggesting that Hamlin's 19th year in NASCAR might finally be the one where he breaks his championship drought. Denny's in that championship mode, in that championship chase, in that championship mindset, probably more than I've seen him ever. We talk about it every year, but he's in an attack mode now. There's only a few races left, but I think this is a guy that's dangerous. He has caught his second wind. He sees the future, he sees Phoenix, and he can get there.
That's what a champion does. Denny's in that championship mode. He's in that championship chase. He's in that championship mindset, probably more than I've seen him ever. And we talk about it every year, but he's in attack mode now. There's only a few races left, but I think this is a guy that's dangerous because he has caught his second win. He sees the future, and he sees Phoenix, and he.
However, not everyone shares Petty's optimism about Hamlin's championship prospects. Kevin Harvick, another NASCAR Cup driver, expressed skepticism about Hamlin's ability to maintain momentum throughout the playoffs. Harvick's comments, made before Hamlin's top 5 finish at Bristol, reflect a pattern of playoff struggles that have plagued Hamlin's career. Indeed, Hamlin's playoff history is marked by near misses and disappointments. In 2010, he squandered a 33-point lead over Jimmy Johnson in the final 2 playoff races. The 2019 title race saw Hamlin's car overheat with just 100 laps to go, resulting in a 10th place finish. In both 2020 and 2021, Hendrick Motorsports drivers bested Hamlin in the championship 4 round. Most recently, in 2022, Ross Chastain's now iconic Hail Melon move eliminated Hamlin from the Final 4. Harvick, who narrowly beat Hamlin to the 2014 championship, shared his thoughts on Hamlin's playoff performances. "The thing about Denny has always seemed that he's handled pressure well. He's got a lot of things that he can handle well off the racetrack and still get in the car and perform, but he's never gotten to the point of being able to handle it well and win a championship." While Harvick acknowledged Hamlin's potential for strong performances, he emphasized the need for consistency. "I expect them to go to Bristol and to be able to perform, but you gotta put the whole thing together, yas." Kyle Petty's analysis of Hamlin goes beyond just his on-track performance. Petty has pointed out Hamlin's tendency to overthink and overanalyze situations, which may be contributing to his playoff struggles. This was evident in Hamlin's strategy at Atlanta, where his cautious approach backfired. I think that's the perfect way to put it. He does overthink, he overthinks, he overanalyzes. He didn't need to do what he did at the time. He didn't need to do at Atlanta what he did, but he thought he did, Petty explained.
Listen, and that is the perfect. I think that's the perfect way to put it. I think Brad just summed it up. He does overthink. He overthinks. He overanalyzes. Let's go back. The most famous thing for me is Denny sitting on the wall at Phoenix when he throws the water bottle after they've got a shot at the championship, whatever year that was, which seems like every year he's got a shot at the championship. But then they go into Homestead, and he's killing it and runs up on a slow car and spins down the backstretch and takes themselves out of it at Homestead. Overthinking what he needed to do at that time. He didn't need to do what he did at that time. He didn't need to do at Atlanta what he did, but he thought he did. He
further added, I mean, he's that guy. You can't take that away from it. At the same time, he's his own worst enemy in a lot of ways. He's his own competitor, and it's between his ears in a lot of cases. I think we saw that at Atlanta, and I think we've seen it other times in his career. This is not something new to Denny Hamlin.
And I think that's the thing with Denny. Denny is such a phenomenal race car driver. Let's take out the podcast. Let's take out the ownership. Let's take out everything else. He is a Hall of Famer, first ballot, doesn't make any difference, should have been a champion multiple times, is going to end up probably with 60 wins when it's all said and done, whatever. I mean, he's that guy. You can't take that away from it. At the same time, he's his own worst enemy in a lot of ways. He's his own competitor. He's his own biggest competitor, and it's in between his ears in a lot of cases. And I think we saw that at Atlanta, and I think we've seen it at other times in his career. This is not something new to Denny.
Petty's assessment of Hamlin as his own worst enemy highlights the mental challenges that often accompany the physical demands of NASCAR racing. This psychological aspect of the sport is particularly crucial during the high-pressure playoff races. Adding to the complexity of Hamlin's situation are his numerous responsibilities outside of driving. As a co-owner of 23XI Racing with basketball legend Michael Jordan, Hamlin has additional pressures and distractions. He also hosts a popular podcast which requires time and mental energy. These commitments, while valuable for his overall career, may be impacting his focus on the championship. The charter negotiations in NASCAR have also been a potential distraction for Hamlin. Just before the playoffs began in Atlanta, NASCAR confirmed a new charter agreement with the teams. However, 23XI Racing, along with other teams, rebelled against NASCAR, demanding fair and reasonable negotiation grounds. While Hamlin has stated that the playoffs remain his priority, the charter talks have undoubtedly added another layer of complexity to his season. Kevin Harvick, on his Happy Hour podcast, highlighted the impact of these off-track commitments on Hamlin's performance. I think when you look back at the driver strategy to go out at Atlanta and just try to race for 20 points and then all the drama that's happened, especially with the charters, it's derailed the 11 car. The incident at Watkins Glen further complicated Hamlin's playoff journey. Both Hamlin and his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Martin Truex Jr. were caught up in early race wrecks, significantly impacting their playoff standings. Kyle Petty's reaction to this turn of events was one of shock and concern. Watkins Glen, once again, never disappoints. We saw Martin Truex qualify well, run up front, gain some points, but in the end, it was for naught. He gets caught up in somebody else's stuff. It's always somebody else's stuff that Martin Truex gets caught up in, Petty commented. But the great Denny Hamlin, we saw him, once again, get in an accident and fall. What we have here are two guys below the cut line, Martin Truex and Denny Hamlin, that we thought would be in the top 5 or 6. The Watkins Glen incident left Hamlin 6 points below the cut line and Truex 14 points behind, a contrast to their expected positions. This setback added urgency to their Bristol performance, where Hamlin managed to turn things around. Looking ahead to Bristol, Hamlin's past performances at the track gave reason for optimism. On his Actions Detrimental podcast, Hamlin outlined his strategy for advancing to the round of 12. We went from thinking we were going to have to win to, we've just got to be ourselves, right? And do what we normally do at Bristol. So that's why I think the mood switched so quickly between probably 15 laps to go in the Watkins Glen race to the finish is all that happened in between that. I probably gained 13, 14 points. I went from being like -20 to -6. Like -6 ain't nothing. At that point, being -20, like you're going to need to really run well and then have multiple drivers with issues, which is just less likely. Now, we can just go there and run well and get in. Hamlin's confidence in his Bristol strategy was evident. Qualifying will be important, certainly, but I think, I don't know, just run top 5 all stages, finish top 5 in the race, get a 47-point day or so. That'll be plenty. But I'm planning on going there and winning. Kyle Petty's perspective on Hamlin's chances at Bristol reflected a mix of cautious optimism and acknowledgement of the challenges ahead. While recognizing Hamlin's skill and past success at the track, Petty emphasized the unpredictable nature of NASCAR racing, particularly in the playoffs. In the midst of this intense playoff battle, a surprising driver swap was announced. Corey LaJoie and Justin Haley will be trading rides for the remainder of the 2024 season. LaJoie will move to Rick Ware Racing, while Haley will join Spire Motorsports. Denny Hamlin shared his thoughts on the driver swap during his Actions Detrimental podcast. I think this is good for both. The reason is, I think it takes pressure off of Corey. He had teammates, where Zane Smith is coming into his own. Trackhouse letting go of Zane. I don't know where Zane ends up, but he's coming into his own really quickly. You had Carson Hockavar coming in as rookie, performing great. He's doing great, and that probably put some pressure on Corey. They're performing really well, and then you push, and then when you push, you wreck. Certainly, there's a lot of trolls getting at Corey quite a bit here lately because of all the wrecks that he's been in or caused.
I think this is good for both. The reason is I think it takes pressure off of Corey. He had teammates, where Zane is coming into his own. Trackhouse letting go to Zane. I don't know where Zane ends up, but he's coming into his own really quickly. You had Hocevar coming in as a rookie, performing great. Shout out to Carson. Doing just a tremendous job this year. Always been super polite to myself off the racetrack. I think he's setting himself up for a very, very, very bright future. He's doing great. And you're really seeing, that probably puts some undue pressure on Corey, right? He's got these young guys coming in, they're performing really well, and then you push. And then when you push, you wreck. And certainly, there's a lot of trolls getting at Corey quite a bit here lately because of all the wrecks that he's been in or caused. But, this is going to be best for him to go over Rick Ware. And if you can go get some good results out of that 51, which it is capable of doing, Justin Haley has shown that it's very capable of running well.
If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe to NASCAR Insider and share your insights and comments below.